This is a short introduction into the project at St John's, Rochdale. I am Chloe Granger, the project architect. St John's was designed by an architect called Oswald Hill in the Byzantine style, which was inspired by the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul and Westminster Cathedral. The Byzantine style is a cruciform plan, which is effectively a cross, often with a dome fixed on top, which is what we see here. Now, unfortunately, Oswald Hill died in the First World War, and the designs were taken on by Bower Norris, who was an architect in Manchester at the time. So the sketch on the left is an Oswald Hill sketch, the original sketch, and the drawing on the right is a Bower Norris drawing, which shows the church as it was constructed. Now, at the time, the use of concrete was very revolutionary. Huge spans could be achieved, unlike the traditional churches of the time, which had timber trusses to span the large naves. Concrete allowed spans to be used without any supports and with big, vast open spaces, as can be seen here on the right-hand side. At St John's, we have a concrete dome on top of a concrete ring beam, which is the central beam running around with the windows in that we can see here, held up on concrete pillars and effectively legs down to ground. It's really important to note that this creates a vast space, and you can see here in the image on the right the priest down at the bottom there with huge arches, big dome above, and just this huge open space, which would have been, as I say, quite revolutionary at the time. St John's was constructed between 1923 and 1925. So here we can see it post-construction. We've got the brick to the external walls. We've got the exposed concrete dome on top with the band of windows and columns just below the dome. Now, the white material here, which looks like stone, is actually a mock fake stone made by the Empire Stone Company. And this was a composite concrete using very specific limestone with shell in it, so that when cast it had the eventual appearance of Portland stone, which was a very expensive stone that was often used for carving at the time. So the Empire stone used here on all the bandings, the white horizontal stripes you can see on the windows, on the decorative features around the windows. There's some what look like carved angels, but are in fact cast angels. And then we've got the columns that go around the base of the dome, all in the Empire stone. The concrete used for the dome was thought, or was meant to be, weatherproofing concrete, and that is how it was designed and intended. So the dome construction is only of concrete. There is nothing on the top or on the bottom of it. It is one solid section of concrete, approximately 5 inches thick at the top, not coated in anything. It was left bare as it was meant to be waterproof, something which has proven not to be the case and which the church has been battling ever since. The transept roofs were also concrete, they're waterproofing concrete, as were all the tops of the wall heads. So the coping stones, which are the flat stones sitting on top of the walls, were also in the waterproof concrete, which are now sadly allowing water into the top of the walls. The church was built to much acclaim, and here we see it featured in the Architect's Journal of 1925. So the left-hand sketch shows the building as intended, with the tall campanile there at the back, which is effectively a tall tower that would have housed the bells. Now, sadly, this didn't get built, but the rest of the church design is pretty much as was built. The photographs on the other two images show a very plain, simple, organic and peaceful church. Very plain, there's no decoration here, no mosaic, which has yet to come, but the essence is of peacefulness and calm. It also appeared in The Builder in 1927. So here we've got again a photograph that was in the magazine. Note the tapering parapet walls, so the top of the wings coming out from the dome, the top of the walls rake in, they're battered, they slope inwards. Now this was a design feature of the original design from Oswald Hill and then taken up by Bowen-Norris, but something that we think has caused major issues ever since. On the left hand side we've got a construction detail drawing, which for us was really useful because it showed us exactly how the walls were constructed, and you can see the very fine concrete structure, which was its beauty, strength, but with very little material, with then the brick cladding on the outside. This is a plan which shows the cross shape with the circular dome on top, showing a lovely set of drawings, and the campanile there on the top left, which was never built. Now this photograph was taken likely shortly after 1933, because we've got the fire station which has been built on the right hand side, which was completed in 1933 with a campanile which is very strikingly similar to the original one that was meant to be at St John's. So St John's on the left, we can see the dome is looking a little bit worse for wear. It's getting a bit dark. It's got a few patches there that are slightly discoloured, and the walls of the brickwork lower down are also looking a bit discoloured. But generally, you know, it's still there. It's still as built. Then in 1932, Eric Newton, formerly Oppenheimer, from the Oppenheimer Studios, was commissioned to install a huge mosaic in the apse. So this was installed in 32 to 33, so it took a year for this huge work of art. This is considered one of Eric Newton's best pieces. It's very elaborate, very grand, very opulent in an otherwise very plain church, and uses a mix of materials including glass, gold leaf and other marble terrace pieces to make up this amazing design. This photo is taken from the 50s, and you can see here that the dome has now been covered in felt, and the transepts that we were talking about being battered or on the rake are now straight, and you can see the difference in colour of brickwork, where you can see the pale older brickwork compared to the brighter new red brickwork where those walls at the top have been rebuilt. Now this is, we assume, in response to water ingress and leaking roofs, leaking parapets, and obviously the dome being covered is a direct response to water leaking in from above. Moving forward a few years, now into the 1990s, so this photo is taken roughly 1995, and we can see that there is a white PVC sheeted roof on top of the dome, again to protect it from water. So we can only assume that the felt had failed, and this is the next attempt to waterproof the dome. We do know that the clerestory windows, which is the band around the bottom of the dome, also had some repairs carried out at the same time, and the Empire stone and concrete structure around the base of that dome has all been painted. We do know that some work was done to the low roofs, and cavity trays were also added into those newly built walls at the top of the transepts. Now, cavity trays are again a tray that is meant to catch water coming down the inside of the wall and then meant to bring it out again. A modern invention, not something that's usually retrofitted, but in this case they were obviously fairly desperate. So when we came onto the project, one of the first things that we as architects need to do is make sure we have a full set of measure drawings. So a surveyor came and measured the whole of the building for us to give us plans and elevations, and this is a photographic view of all the roofs, which will be to scale so we can get exact measurements of it. But here you can see just how many roofs there are. And then as part of the surveying, Historic England also very kindly came and laser scanned the mosaic. Now this scan is at very, very high resolution, so we can see, when you zoom in, almost every single little tile, which is absolutely fantastic. It also allows us to see all the defects in the mosaic, such as the white salts. The staining that you can see is salts, the white blooming, and that's indicating damp. So on the left hand image you can see quite high up there's a band of white salts there, showing that water is getting in at that level, which is effectively the level of the transept roof where it hits the wall. And we've talked about water getting in through those non-waterproof copings. So as part of the surveys we had to carry out assessments from a cherry picker. We had to get inside and get all the way up to the top of the dome. And here is an image showing us looking at the windows. So we can see where the concrete has burst away from the reinforcement bars, which only happens when you get a lot of water penetration, which encourages the steel reinforcement bars to rust. So steel can rust up to 9 times its original size, causing whatever is surrounding it, and in this case concrete, to pop off. And then externally again, we've got cracking of the paintwork, we've got damage to the sills, and we can see on the right hand side here there's the PVC roof which we had to inspect, which is now showing signs of deterioration with splits and cracks. On the top photograph in the middle there you can see a split or a crack through the PVC coating. That's on one of the rims on the edges. And on the left hand side, the crack up the side of the window, that is not just a crack in the paintwork, that is actually a crack through into the concrete, indicating that there is some reinforcement behind there which is forcing the concrete to crack and burst off. Now this is a rather complicated looking drawing, but shows the internal windows on the inner ring and the same windows but looking at them from the outside on the outer ring. Now all this does is show the water ingress that's indicated by the blue on the inside compared to cracks and damage on the outside, which is shown with the pink and the red markings on the outer ring of windows. So this gives us an indication of whatever's happening on the outside is directly affected on the inside. Here we've got some close-up images from the outside when we were on a cherry picker, and we can get quite high up. So top left we can see the concrete coping stones which are not waterproof and are allowing water into the top of the brickwork. Now these have been pointed with mastic, as you can see here, which will not be performing adequately. Bottom middle photo, again, you can see where there's been patch repairs carried out, some felts peeling away, just generally issues with the performance of the original materials, but the church not having the money to then be able to fix them properly. So bottom right image shows the inserted cavity tray, which will probably not be doing much good, if I'm perfectly honest, but it just shows desperation at the time. Top right image shows the inside of the transept ceiling, which shows the boards from the original concrete pour, and then on the back wall just the bursting of the paintwork and damaged plaster, showing the brickwork behind, just the pure amount of water that's getting in. So in this project we are only really able to focus on the most urgent and the most crucial aspects of the church. So we are focusing on the dome, which desperately needs recoating, especially because it's at such high level and very inaccessible. The chance of being able to get up there now and do it first means that everything below can then be protected. So we are also then carrying out works to the clerestory windows and the band of concrete around there, where we saw all the spalling concrete both inside and damaged outside, but inside obviously crucially because there is actually falling material which is a health and safety hazard to people inside the church. And then you can see the red lining at the top of the image here, which shows the area above the mosaic. Now this is all going to get done as well, so we're going to sort out the copings at the top of the wall head, re-roof, and obviously repair and restore the mosaic inside. This is a huge project for the parish to take on, and they need all the support they can get. So thank you for listening to this. I hope it's been useful, and if you are able to help in any way, please do get in touch with one of the project team members. Thank you.